To start off, this is the name of my paper, Pop Star or a Plumber. I'd like to start off by saying the reasoning as to why I chose this topic. I researched many different research paper topics, the ones that were most interesting, the ones that were most popular, the ones that were the easiest to write, and I found no interest in really any of those, and I found many about choosing a career and the careers that were best in the world, the ones, choosing a career based on income, based on popularity, based on a degree program. And it just gave me a flashback to what it was like to be in high school and decide on a career all at once. And I just began thinking of all the ways that can be fixed, especially in the United States public school system, how to make it easier for young people to just make a path and choose a career from a young age and just build upon that and make it easier to just enter the workforce earlier than they do now, make it easier for students to just pick a degree program at a young age so they can just build upon their skills that they already have. This is my thesis. Children are forced into choosing a career path before being recognized for their skills and aspirations. But with the implementation of an annual survey-like test geared to group students with similar goals and interests, participants will be prepared to embrace their bright futures and flourish in academia with confidence. And the background is a picture of all the places we'll go, and I included a little piece of that. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, and now you know what you know. You're the one who will decide where you are to go. And that's just a piece of literature that's included a lot in graduation and deciding on future plans and goals and reaching for your dreams, reaching for the stars. And when you read that as a child, you think, oh yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to do whatever I want to, I'm going to, follow my dreams. But when you hear that in high school, it's kind of stressful. Like, you're not getting very much help. You're just having to decide on a career while you're not even old enough to vote. You're deciding how you're going to be making money to support a family. You're deciding how you're going to spend all your money on a degree program without much knowledge of what's out there at all. And so I included that just to give a kind of little perspective on a common piece of literature that's included a lot throughout schooling. How do children choose a career? I went and I interviewed my mom's whole second grade class, and I sat each one of them down, each of these cute little kids, without any teeth in the front, who could barely, speak at all because they had a little lisp without teeth. And I asked each of them, what they want to do when they grow up. And, when you're that young, it's easy to say, hey, I want to be a ballerina. I got lots of ballerinas, lots of race car drivers, I want to be a professional basketball player. And that's nice, At that age, you don't want to be like, oh, you can't be that. You can't be a basketball player. You can't be a ballerina. You can't be you can't be a pop sensation. Because they're so cute, they're just reaching for their dreams. They want to be cool. They want to do what they like. But I think a failure in the school system, a failure the authority figures make, is that we feed into these fantasy-like goals that they have, and we don't give them other options to choose from that are more reality-based. Even though we can say, yeah, you can be a race car driver, we should always give children a plan B, like, you could be a race car driver, but you're really good at math, You could be an accountant if you decide not to be a race car driver. But I believe that's not really the case. I think people just assume that because a child says, I want to do this, you have to say, yes, you can. But there always need to be given other options. What changes in decision making? I included a little graph of all the different careers that I want to be throughout my schooling in the public school system. And the first one was elementary school. I wanted to be a Spice Girl. Not because, I was the best singer ever, not because, I wanted to be a style icon, just because I thought it was cool. I just thought, hey, I want to dress like these girls, they're pretty, everybody likes them, I want to be just like them. And at that time, it was supported by my parents, by teachers, everybody was like, yeah, do it, do whatever you want to. But then as I went through middle school and high school, I got pressures from parents, from teachers, to make a decision. What are you going to do when you grow up? You have to make money, you have to support a family, you have to decide so you don't waste money on a degree that you don't need. So everybody was talking about the nursing program at Sandhills, about the nursing program everywhere, how easy it is to get a job as a nurse. So I said, hey, you know, I could be a nurse. Little did I know, I waited till my senior year to get my blood taken for the first time, and I almost passed out the sight of my own blood. So obviously I can't be a nurse if I can't see my own blood. How can I see somebody else's every day? So at the end of my senior year, I decided there's no way I can pick a job this quick. It's so much stress. How am I going to pick a job? So I just looked into the things that I liked. I always took art classes. I always enjoyed art. So I decided I can't be an oil painter. I can't be a famous painter. I mean, maybe I could, but that's not realistic. So I decided, hey, I'll be an art teacher. I'd be able to support myself, support a small family if I became an art teacher. There's lots of places that I could learn this craft. I have the skill to do it, so that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm pursuing now. But basically, this outlines how, when you're a child, you make a decision based on your dreams and what you like, what people think are cool. High school, you base your decisions on what your parents think is important, what authority figures think is important, what makes the most money, what jobs are the most stable. You don't really think about what you like when making a career decision while in high school very often, because it's a lot of pressure. You're pressured into making a decision for your whole life, without having much information at all. And then usually that's why a lot of people decide in their adulthood to change their career. They end up very unhappy with their career while after having children or after completing a degree program and not wanting to go back or not having the income to do so. And I included a little graphic. Half of the workers are unhappy. So 32% of workers are seriously thinking about quitting. 21% have a negative view of their employer. That sometimes it's just, you know, your boss is mean, you don't like, you know, the people you work with. But another part of the time is just because you don't have the right field. You're not working in the right job field. It's not right for you. You didn't pick the right job, but you're not changing it. But sometimes it's hard. You could become complacent, especially while you're in middle adulthood. If you have children, it's hard to go back to school. That's why it should be easier for people to decide on a career while they're young, while they're actually taking classes, while they're able to pick a degree program and go straight into that degree program. That's why it should be easier for the average American to do so, to decrease the amount of employees that are unhappy with their job. The career planning gap. 2/3 of incoming freshmen at four-year institutions say they want help with an educational plan to prepare for a good job. As a college sophomore, as someone who was in high school less than 2 or 3 years ago, I can say that most of the people that I started off college with had their degree as undecided or general education, and that's okay. Get your math classes, get your English classes out of the way, but why not go straight into learning skills, perfecting the craft that you're going to do for the rest of your life, rather than wasting time taking pre-calculus algebra, what I'm doing, when you don't really need it for the job you have the rest of your life. By mid-year, less than half of the students reported they had received this type of assistance. A lot of schools say that they offer career counselors, and perhaps they do, but it's not like the counselors come to the students. I can't vouch for one time that I had a counselor come to me and ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had counselors giving tips on SATs and ACT scores. I had counselors helping me with test anxiety, but I didn't have any counselors come to me or my classmates offering assistance in picking a degree program, in picking a job, in picking anything like this, picking any type of career planning guide. No help was given. And I believe it's very important and should be implemented. How do we fix it? I believe we should fix it with a vocational planning test or survey. It would be an easy test, especially compared to standardized tests, which are timed and cause stress, and you have to memorize materials, while this would just be asking simple questions about what you like to do, what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, and who doesn't like talking about themselves. I mean, that's just a human quality. We like to say what we like to do, we like to talk about what we don't like to do, and it would be a test that each student would take every year. It would be an annual test at the beginning of the year. starting with kindergartners. And of course, when you start in kindergarten, it'd just be like, do you like to count? Do you like to go outside? Do you like picking flowers? Do you like helping your mom cook? But as they would go through the school system, as they would age, and each year the test would get more in depth, asking them more detailed questions, and it would begin grouping the students into different career paths. And the standard procedure for this would be, after each test, the school, whoever was in charge of studying and grading these tests, would look at them and start grouping the students according to what they liked, what they're good at. And these students would be in these groups as they went through school. I know I went through school with some of the same people. We grew up together, we took classes together, not that we had much in common, but if we did, you know, we took solace in that and we made conversation of it. But with this, you would group students that had similar goals, and group learning and communal learning have proven to increase success, increase competition. It nurtured a less stressful environment for students so that they could explore and feel more comfortable to let their ideas out rather than feeling different and unwanted in the group. These groups wouldn't be something they would spend all day in. They would just take time out of the day to spend time with their group, to discuss new topics. They would have homework in this group, classwork, projects, tests, but they would still have class time with their whole class who weren't necessarily in their career path group. And they would learn, rather than spending so much time learning crazy math if they didn't need it, or learning crazy grammar techniques if they didn't need it, they would take time to learn about how to balance a checkbook, how to do taxes, how to change tires, just learning simple life things that we aren't really taught in schools now. And something I think that would benefit from implementing these survey-like tests is standardized tests would decrease. My experience with standardized testing is they don't really do anything for the student. They more often than not, they just grade the teacher on their abilities to teach, and it teaches students information they won't need to know for the rest of their life. It stresses students out. Being timed on bubbling in sheets, it's not fun. It's not something you want to do, and it doesn't do anything to retain information. But with these tests, you could take the money that's being spent on making new standardized tests and money that is being spent to grade these teachers on their skills at teaching students information that they don't necessarily need. The money could be spent on making these new career planning tests, as well as new programs to implement with the career planning groups to increase their success rate in choosing a good career. This new testing method would benefit just about every party involved. It would benefit students because they would have a more comfortable learning environment. They would be more prepared for life, more prepared for picking a degree program. They wouldn't have to worry about the stresses of wasting money on a degree program they didn't need, wasting time on classes that were unnecessary. Teachers would benefit because they would have a more cohesive group, less stress from just the sheer differences of their students, because they'd be spending time with people that shared similarities with them. They wouldn't have to deal with the standardized testing. They would be under less scrutiny. The community would benefit. Employers would benefit because straight out of college programs, they would get skilled employees that were ready to work and had the craft under control. They knew what they were doing, and they could just hire them straight out of the degree program. And there would be happy employees. A happy employee does more work, has more ideas, more likely to work for their job. If you're unhappy at your job, you're less likely to put the work in. If you're happy at what you're doing, you're more likely to spend time and try to improve the workplace. There'd be less unemployment because people would be in the job that made them happy. And generally, everybody would just be more happy. There'd be a happy workforce, happy employers, happy students. just a happy place. Education, happy life, good job. Alright, let's just wrap it up. This test that we would implement would be a survey-like test, just basically asking each student what they liked, what they were good at every year, their skills, their interests, and would become more in-depth each year. And they would group the students so that they could engage in competition, engage in revolving new ideas, until they were narrowed down and they understood their craft well, they understood what they were going into, they understood where they were going with their life, with their career, knew what degree program, what college they were going to right out of high school. This would send students to college knowing what they were doing, get students out of college with a degree, happy with what they were going to do with their life, with their career. It would increase the employment rate in the United States because people would be doing what they were wanting to. They would have more money to explore different job fields because they wouldn't be wasting money on unnecessary degrees, and generally the overall population of workforce and employers would be happier. And that's it.